Welcome to Phillip Island, Victoria in Australia. What a setting we have for this great sporting contest, the Little Penguin Sea to Dune race. Nervous moments always as they gather on the beach, the tension mounting, and away they go. There's the defending champion, wearing his familiar navy blue and white, great waddling style. Another pre-race favourite though, losing touch with the pack. Maybe that's why. A few too many fish in the day's feeding. There's a familiar face, Skip McIntyre, 8 times a champion back in the 90s, a very successful coach now, keeping a keen eye on proceedings. This the leading group, 1 or 2 still able to put on a show for the camera, others just ploughing straight over it. Some resorting to shortcuts. Sad that cheating has crept into this beautiful sport. The judges will have a look at that. But up at the front, the pace is relentless, closing in on those sand dunes that will offer a bed for the night. The fatigue starting to tell. Who's got the finishing kick up on the outside? What a turn of pace from that one, whichever one it is. No answer from the rest, and he takes victory. What a win. There we are, into the Burrow, building an extension with his winnings, and back tomorrow to try and defend his title here on Phillip Island.
Everybody, back to another night of Penguin Live TV. I am your Penguin host tonight, and I will be taking you through our Penguins journey of events as we go through. And tonight we have with us Ranger Tom. Come on in, tell us what you're doing tonight, Tom.
Hi everyone. I'll be keeping an eye on the Facebook feed, so any interesting questions, pop them through and we'll try and get to them. We do get a lot of questions, we can't get to everyone, but we'll try and get to as many as we can. 1,017 penguins last night. I was actually counting the penguins, so that number stuck in my brain. So it was pretty good. My feeling is it could go up again tonight because there's this nice weather and we are getting more into breeding season. So have a good night.
Ooh, fingers crossed for more penguins tonight. That would be lovely, because I know that last week when I was here we weren't having too many. We were hitting some quite low numbers. Now, I've zoomed in on a couple of Pacific gulls or kelp gulls. They look the same, but they are a penguin predator. But before I talk too much about them and our penguins, I would like to acknowledge the ancestors and the traditional owners of the land that we are viewing our beautiful little penguins and our wildlife on tonight. So we are here from Phillip Island, which is also known as Malau, and that is the name given to Phillip Island by the traditional owners called the Bunurong peoples, and they had lived here for thousands and thousands of years before European settlement. And I would like to pay my respects and recognise the traditional owners, the elders and the ancestors past, present and emerging, because without them and the work that they have put into our island, we wouldn't have our beautiful penguins here to view for us. So I would also like to thank you guys for joining us all the time, always joining us. We love your support. We love being able to bring you the penguins, and hope that we'll be able to have more of you visiting us on site as soon as possible when it's safe to do so. But for now, I hope that these streams are giving you your little penguin fix. Now, these two mean that penguins are probably going to be a little while off. It's very unlikely for penguins to arrive when there are predators on the beach. So, I think I've zoomed in a bit too close, so the camera's not too happy with it. So, kelp gulls and Pacific gulls, they are basically giant glorified seagulls. They are huge. I wish I had a normal sized seagull here so you could really see the size difference. But they are just big seagulls. And really the only difference between the two species is a slight bit of red on their beak, which is why it could be either way, and no idea. So I'll interchange which one I call it, just because I'm difficult like that. But these guys would love to take a penguin given the opportunity. So these are the reason the penguins come in at sunset. These guys will generally head to bed to roost for the night at around sunset, and then same with any other birds of prey that would like to take predators. So we've got the gulls here, but we've also got hawks and eagles and harriers and all those other big birds of prey who'd love to take a tiny cute little penguin because they're just a cute bundle of delicious fat. So, well, not fat, they're actually really muscly for such a small little fat looking bird. But every year around, as we go into the breeding season, we always get a couple of these gulls hang around a bit later than usual and really start to mess with our penguins coming home. And it's always really amusing and kind of nerve-wracking to watch. I have never seen a gull take a penguin, never. And as terrible as it is, I would love to see them try. I remember a couple of years ago through summer, there was a chick of one of these guys that kept staying in way too late. Like, it was pitch black and this chick was still hanging around, and it kept looking like it was trying to take a penguin, but it was so pathetic and useless. It just had absolutely no hope, and it was always good fun. So my prediction for tonight is what's going to happen is the penguins are going to appear on the other side of the beach first until these guys leave, or we may end up with a bit of penguin action going around these guys, because these guys will make the penguins very, very nervous because they are a big scary bird. So we're just going to have to wait and see what happens there. But and we've got Ranger Rachel and we've got Lindsay down the bottom there, and I just might move so they don't have their poor foreheads stuck in our live stream tonight. So Tom said they came in last night just a little bit after, about 46 or 47 past. So really it is around about the sort of time we'd expect them to come in. But with these birds of prey on the beach, who really knows what happens? And I know a lot of people get really concerned when we have predators on the beach or around, and they want us to intervene or protect the penguins from these predators. But the predators are native. They're an Australian wildlife as well as the penguins. So in my opinion, if they get a penguin, good for them. They've done a really good job, and they've earned their dinner if they manage to do that. But the penguins are very clever. They come in their groups, so they're out there in rafts right now, which I can't see, unfortunately. It's just a little bit too much movement in the water. But they're in their groups, and they've formed their groups, and they're all chatting away to each other. They're making their huck sound, which is your little huck, 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 huck. So they can go, hey guys, come with me. I don't want to cross the beach by myself. Please don't make me do it. And so, even if they're here when the penguins arrive, what are the chances that these ones are going to take on a group of 30, 40 plus penguins? And that looks like a raft right there. Let's have a look-see. Is it, or am I imagining things? Because it's hard to tell if I'm imagining things or not. Oh no, that is definitely a raft of penguins. Good. I'm not completely great. So I'm going to move out because I want to see both the penguins and the birds of prey in the scene all at once. Because I always love seeing what is going to happen with these guys, because the penguins definitely outnumber them, but sometimes you get these birds of prey who are a little bit too confident and still try to do some stuff when it's really not going to work out. Are you going to come in right next to the gulls, or are you going to be a bit more smarter than that? What do you reckon, Tom? Have you ever seen any good predator penguin action? You've probably got some good stories on that.
I've seen 2 juvenile silver gulls over the years go for penguins.
Oh.
But they were young, they didn't know the rules.
They didn't know the rules, I love it.
And all the adults were telling them off, so that was very unusual. But I've seen a juvenile Pacific gull go an early penguin as well, but once again it was a juvenile. They don't know the rules.
They don't know the rules. A little bit useless. And look at these penguins. They've sort of just hit stop, and they've formed their group really tightly, and you see a few of them are like, oh, not a chance am I dealing with these big birds of prey here. And look at them all go. And you've got the ones at the front who haven't noticed half of their group have fled. Oh, I love it. It's always like, I know it's like when you watch a documentary. If you're watching a documentary on lions, you're always like, yeah, lion, go get that antelope. It's great. Good luck. But if you're watching the antelope documentary, you're like, don't you dare get my antelopes, you naughty lion. And it's a bit like this. I know we're here to focus on the penguins and we love the penguins, but it's a little bit fascinating what's happening around here. And I also have, at the bottom of the screen, 2 masked lapwings. And these guys are here almost every night. There's usually a third one around too. They're harmless to the penguins, but quite often they give a little bit of a flight right when the penguins are halfway across the beach, and give these penguins a good spook, but they are totally harmless to the penguins. Now, I think you'll have multiple chances to guess how many are in this group tonight, and hopefully Ranger Heather, who's our counter tonight, will give us some idea of how many they are. But considering we've got the birds of prey here making their life difficult, if the penguins go in and out several times, Heather might be too busy to be able to give us an idea of what number it was. So please forgive us if that is the case. But look, these birds, these gulls are just sitting there chilling. They don't seem at all interested in the penguins. And what's happening is, I'm sure we've had another small raft join this group, and we'll probably get another raft and another raft join until it's a huge group, and they'll probably go do like a wide round around these birds, unless the birds move. If the birds move, then they're all going to freak out again, but it'll be interesting to see what they do. Now, I don't follow football at all, so I can't even begin to talk about the fact that it's grand final, and I think we're overlapping a little bit with the Penguins right now for that. So anyone who's watching this a bit later because of the grand final, I hope you enjoyed it. It's not my thing, but I hope you had fun or your team won, all that sort of stuff. But we do have penguins in our store wearing footy colours. So we've got our plush penguins, and they've got like a beanie and a scarf in all the team's football colours. So if you are a Penguin fan and a footy fan and want to support us, because all the profits go directly to our... Oh, and they're running again. They're so unsure. All of the profits go directly to our conservation research and education work that we do here. You can get yourself a cute little plush, support your team, and support the Penguins all at once, which is a really great thing. So you can just go through our website and into the store to find that one there. Look at these brave penguins. And I saw, as I was talking, there's like another group, just underneath the highway camera, you can see another small group of like 3 of them. They're going to go the long way around the rocks. Now, I heard on the radio, did Heather give us a number already?
That was the start.
Oh, that was the start. Of course it was. That makes sense. Oh, look at him. Or maybe if you want to guess, I should actually give you an opportunity to guess by getting a little bit closer. Although the further away you are, the more accurate to what the experience as a ranger counting them is like, because it's not easy counting our penguins. They don't make it easy, but at least they're not running in and out like madmen tonight. They did one little bit of a run, one bit of a spook. Is that gull like having a nap? Oh no. For a second it looked like its like head was curled in under its wing, and it was just like having a rest on the beach, upsetting my penguins. I'm like, that's a bit harsh, but okay. It is definitely way too dark for these gulls to be here, but you know, we always say that, you know, the penguins, they always come in at this time, and the gulls always go to bed at this time, and the predators, but there are always going to be exceptions to the rule, and we're always going to have some cheeky animals who do whatever they want, because that is just how it goes. I will come back to the gulls because I think they're fascinating, but we need some close-ups of the penguins for sure. And our pond is still here. It's starting to dry up, but we'll get to see some penguins do some face planting and do some tripping over, which is great. Now, do we have any questions yet, Tom? Or penguin numbers, either way?
Do you want to answer them? Do you want me to?
Oh, you can answer them. I'm going to have a look at penguins.
Nice, quick, easy one. This is from Karen. Do we have any shearwater sightings as yet? As I said, I was counting the penguins last night. I didn't see any shearwaters further down the beach. They usually arrive around about grand final day, give or take a few days. So they're pretty much due over the next week. Most of the winds we've had on the island the last week have been southerlies or westerlies. They really prefer that sort of strong northerly for a bit of prevailing wind to come down quicker. But they're due in the next week, if not 2 weeks. So they're due any day now, basically.
Yeah, great. And that's exactly it. So we know when they're, you know, expected to arrive, because they arrive within the same time, within a few days every single year, and the same when they leave. But it's always on the windiest day, because they are migrating such a long period. So they're coming from up near Alaska to us. So that's a huge huge distance for these birds to travel. So they are really good at sort of flying on top, sort of almost gliding on top of the wind. They're not so good at their sort of short distance little flights and stuff. So they really, oh, we've got a goose as well. We've just got everyone here upsetting the penguins tonight. Brilliant. So the shearwaters really do use the wind to be able to help with their migrations. Penguin highway camera, because it makes such a huge difference to their ability to be able to get their way around. Okay, so I just want to have both cameras multitasking again. Oh, oh, look at that goose flap his wings, and those penguins are like, no, do not do that, please. So I do want to talk a little bit more about the shearwaters. So like I said, they are, that goose really upset the penguins. Oh no. They are a migrating bird, so they spend about 6 months of the year here. So what they'll do is they'll arrive here soon. They're going to do all of their mating behaviours. And then they're going to go a bit of a honeymoon down to Antarctica, where they're going to fan up again. And then they're going to come back to us and they're going to lay their eggs and look after their chicks for a little while before they head back over. And the thing that I find the most impressive about them is the fact that they leave their chicks before their chicks are ready to fledge. So they leave their chicks in their burrows. Here we go, I've got another raft coming in. Beautiful. They leave the chicks before the chicks are ready to fledge. So the chicks are really fat and they haven't learned to fly yet, so the chicks have got to lose their baby weight, and then they've got to learn to fly and then meet their parents halfway across the world on their migration, which I think is just incredible that they're able to do that, even though they're clumsy and ridiculous as well, which is something we'll probably talk about a little bit more. I believe we've just recently released a shearwater episode of our podcast. So if you're wanting to learn more in detail by people who know a lot more than what I do, have a look at our podcast, which is called Nature... Ooh, is it Nature Unfiltered? I always get the word wrong. Nature Unfiltered, which is also can be found on our website as well. But the shearwaters, they're just a large... Not large, it's sort of small, but they've got a really long wingspan blackbird that you find around many of the parts. And we get about 1.5 million of them on our island each year as we go through. All right, did we end up with a number for that group of penguins, or is Heather?
Missed it.
Ah, we missed it.
Probably not answering the question.
That's all right. We don't always get it. Is that the lapwing again, or who are you? These penguins are so unsure. Ah, yeah, you are just the lapwing. Like, we got more birds. It's always interesting to see what we've got. Oh, alrighty. Do we have more questions? Sorry, Tom. I like to make people work. I enjoy lots and lots of questions.
That's all right. While we're on the shearwaters, this is from
brilliant.
Star. How big are adult shearwaters? So the shearwaters' body wise are virtually the same size as our little penguins, about 33 centimetres tall, but they have about a 1 metre wingspan. And the penguins, little penguins weigh a kilogram on average, usually, around about a kilogram. The shearwaters actually weigh about 750 grams, and that's including their wingspan. And the reason being, because they're flying birds, they've got hollow bones, so they're a lot lighter. The penguins swim in the ocean, so they've got a lot of heavier bones. So hence the difference in weight. Even though the shearwaters are similar size and a lot more wingspan, they're actually lighter.
Beautiful, thanks, Tom. I don't know. We've got a wallaby on the beach, but I think he's moved. We just had the beautiful view of a wallaby just jumping along the beach and hiding behind some plants. So let's have a little look-see. So this is just a good night for it. So I'm going to go with, if we're having all this wildlife, we should get a bandicoot, right? That would make sense to me. I'm not quite sure that's how the wildlife agrees with me, but it's worth a shot. So most of the wildlife that we have around that we see on the stream tonight are all penguin friends. Well, they tolerate each other, I guess, is probably better for terms of wildlife. So the geese and the wallabies, they do their own thing. They're not here to eat penguins. They generally eat plants and berries and that sort of thing. The wallabies will spook penguins very easily if they're moving quite quickly through the area, whereas the geese will spook penguins very easily just because they're geese. Being a big bird, they are just mean little dudes sometimes. Have absolute mind of their own, especially now. We're coming towards the end of the geese breeding season, but they're still territorial, still have a lot of chicks around, older teenagers more so, which means that they're extra territorial. So they will be a little bit more feisty to the penguins if they're in their space, and penguins, and I mean, a lot of animals, I've got a pretty healthy fear. If a goose was coming at me, I'd run. That's for sure. So the penguins definitely are not fans of the geese, which is why when we've got the goose over there, the penguins sort of all stop and they get into a little bit of a traffic jam while they have a bit of a think about what they want to do. And I'm just loving that the predators, that these birds of prey are still here. Like, it's, what, almost 7, and they're just like, yeah, whatever. I mean, they'll will leave eventually, but it means that the penguins started later and the penguins are doing a bit of a different route than they would otherwise. So we can see that they're hitting the beach at their normal spot and doing a big wide circle around because there's no chance they want to get too close. But these group have a lot more confidence than the last group. There's a lot less of them in this group than in that first really large group because they're like, you know, it's getting dark now. They feel a lot safer when it's really dark. So they're not as concerned, even though there are predators literally right there. So very interesting to see what they want to do. They can never think about it. And oh no, we don't have any doing the rock. So we've got 5 different pathways that the penguins cross each night, and our pathway is the biggest one here. And that is because of a mix of, we've got all of these rocks which provide extra camouflage, usually when the penguins can get through the rocks. So they feel a bit more comfortable, but we've also got a pathway up the hill, which we'll go over to in just a minute, which takes them up the hill into the old Summerland estates, which, because there's some cliffing around there, there's no really other access for it besides here. So, oh, we've still got penguins on our rocks. Oh, goose, okay. Goose is like, I'll just sit right here, and I can't get a good shot of the goose because we've got geese. Oh, we've got 2 of them tonight. Even better. So easily distracted by the geese and by anything that isn't a penguin is very distracting. And so the geese, unlike our penguins, do mate for life. Okay, let's actually talk about penguins. So we are into the breeding season. We have had an official start a little while ago. I don't know if we have any chicks yet. As soon as I know if we have chicks, I will let you know. Or one of us will let you know for sure. And it'll still probably be a little while until we get them in a spot where we can see them on the stream. But for now, we have eggs. They're sitting on eggs, and they've got to sit on eggs for about 32, I believe, days before those eggs hatch. So even though we have a lot of eggs around, it's still got a few weeks until we're going to see them. And then once those eggs hatch, the chicks don't immediately come out of their burrows and become visible. So they hatch and they're about the same size egg as a chicken egg, just about. And so when they hatch, they're about the same size as a newly hatched chook. And it takes them until about 3-ish weeks, up until 3 weeks, while they're an egg and while they're a little tiny chick. They can't regulate their own temperature, which means that they need constant parental supervision to keep them warm, to keep their metabolism going. So the parents will take turns. One parent will go get food for themselves and the chick if they're chicks, or just for themselves if they're on eggs, and then they'll swap every couple of days or every day depending on the food needs of those chicks. And then as the chicks get older and they start to be able to thermal regulate and they've got their very cute fluffy down feathers, then they'll be able to, I'm going to go over to the highway camera, then they will be able to do it all themselves, and that's when they start coming out of their burrow a little bit and letting us have a good look at them and being cute. And by that 3 weeks old, they're about this big. Like, they're pretty big for what we're calling a chick, because by 6 weeks they start growing in their beautiful blue feathers that we know and love them for. So they really grow right before your eyes, so there's not a whole lot of time to see them being cute fluffy chicks before they're cute ugly teenage chicks instead. Oh, look at the penguins in the pond swimming around. Alright, I'm going to go back to the pond because I think they're funny, and I think we've got the shell gritters. The shell gritters are again trying to swim in the pond because just the ease of swimming versus walking, it's just such an easy convenience to swim through the pond when the pond is deep enough, and it's not. So I've got at least 3 shell gritters here. You can see them having a wander around, staring at the ground. So these are female penguins who are ready to lay some eggs in a couple of days, maybe 5 days max. And so they have given the calcium from their own bodies to form the egg shell for their eggs. And so they have become a little bit calcium deficient and needing to replace that store. So they're looking at the beach, they're looking at the sand for any, oh, that's bad focus, any teeny tiny little bits of shell grit, so crushed up shell pieces for them to eat to help replenish those. And what's really cool that I didn't learn until I started working on these streams, thanks to Megan and Jordan, is that you can tell which burrow almost definitely will have eggs in it if it's got a little tiny bit of penguin vomit filled with shell pieces, because once they've laid the eggs, there's no need for that grit anymore, and so they regurgitate the pieces. So you know that they've laid their eggs, which is pretty cool, pretty disgusting, but you know, why not? Penguin vomit's always fun. You can see, you can just see the shell grit in the background, still having a look. No good pieces too. Oh! They got a bit of a fright there. What's the goose doing? Let's go look at my geese friends. Oh, always. The geese are so cheeky. They're just so mean. So this is the start of the sort of one of the penguins' main roads that takes them through this area. So they've got oh, come on camera. Play nice with me, please. And so the penguins always walk up this hill to get home. So the penguins have one burrow, one box that they use for their entire life, and they are really fussy about that. And to be able to find the same burrow every time, and because they have to travel up to 2 kilometers home, they take the same road home every single time. And that camera is still not focusing on penguins or geese for me. So they have to take the same pathway home each time to help them memorize that way home. And so when a big goose is standing in the way of that pathway, the penguins get nervous and they get a bit of a traffic jam going on. So you can see that these penguins have decided to take the long route home just to make them feel a little bit less nervous. So you can see they've just taken this big loop around the geese before they head back upwards to keep going on their footpath. And what are you guys doing? Guys being silly. Do we have any more penguins? Do we have any penguins, Tom? Questions? Penguins?
Yeah, this is from Simone. How do the penguins sense predators? So with our little penguins, first of all, they're very quick swimmers. So not a lot keeps up with them in the ocean when they're diving up and down. They have dark blue feathers on their back, so no bird of prey is going to snatch them out of the water and in the ocean because they're camouflaged into the water surface. They cross the beach when it's dark, morning or evening, before sunrise or sunset. They do have very good long vision. They've got very good night vision. They've got a very good sense and awareness of any birds flying over when they are crossing the beach. So they're pretty sensitive to that. Probably their most vulnerable time is if they're sick or injured or too hot or too cold, and they're sort of haven't got their wits about them. They're out at the burrows during the day, and that's when they're at their most risk, especially from birds of prey, or any birds actually, crows, magpies or anything. So they've got a lot of defence mechanisms, but as I said, they are sort of vulnerable at certain stages.
Thanks, Tom. Absolutely, that's right. I've just had a look at the beach, and those 2 gulls are still hanging around, which is just amazing. I don't think we're going to see any action of predation, but I still think it is amazing just the fact that they're just hanging out on the beach tonight. Like, what of it? Who wants to listen to our... And okay, so now it looks like it's having a nap, doesn't it? Like, why won't you focus on it? Because it looks like we only got one there though now. He's got his head tucked into his wings. It looks like he's having a nice little nap while taunting the penguins, which is just rude. It's always interesting to see the differences in behaviours, because there's always going to be so many different kinds of behaviours along animals. So you'll have, you could have 3 penguins in a row, and you'll have one who's really brave and he's like, yep, I'm going home, there's nothing's going to stop me. And this could have another one who's a big old chicken who's like, oh, that shadow could be a bird, or that rock could be a bird, and everything could be a bird, and I don't want to do this. And then you've got, your ones in between that who are like, yep, this is fine, I'm just going to follow all the penguins around and it's all good. And you just never know what you're going to get. Alright. I feel like now that we've talked about chicks, I kind of owe you a good look around to have a look in the boxes and see if we do have anything interesting around. So I can see nothing around the natural burrows on this side. So I'll head over to the boxes and just see. Oh, pardon me. Just see what we've got, because it looked like before around the box there was don't think I saw chicks, but I did see some penguins being silly. Which is always, no, they've all left. So there was one in the burrow right here who I thought might come out and show off a little bit for us, but apparently not. That would just make our life way too easy. Alright, that's fine. We'll just go back. Okay. Okay. Every now and again we get a bang on the window, and we just had a bang on the window.
Wallaby again.
Wallaby again. I think, Tom had a wallaby a little while ago, and I think Megan and someone had an owl a while before that, so we can't see anything out there right now, so it's just very confusing when you're just chatting away and you hear a big bang over to your side and you're like, oh, what? And I know that last time on the stream that you guys heard the bang, and I think someone said that, did Megan fall off her chair? Or something, as Tom somehow managed to keep his composure and not even note that anything had happened. Just look over, see everyone's alive, and continue on very professionally. Unlike me, who's like, what is happening?
That was a very loud bang, that one.
It was, yeah, I bet.
That was a full body slam, that one.
A full body slam, that's how Tom's describing it. Brilliant. Okay, let's go back over to this one and have a look. Every night we've got some penguins who are more interested in just sitting here all night having a good preen, while the others want to go home. So all these penguins, you can see that they're using their beaks to spread, to sort of like brush through their feathers. So they have got an oil gland near their bottoms, just above their tail feathers, that will, what am I saying? That they will be able to then spread oil through their feathers. And this oil is really necessary to keep them waterproof. If the penguins weren't fully waterproof, they would get out into our freezing cold waters, or maybe not freezing cold, into our pretty cold waters, and they would get hypothermia and they wouldn't be able to survive that. So the penguins instead, they have got their 2 layers of feathers as well as their, thanks Tom, as well as their oil to protect them. So you've got like their down feathers, which are the really fluffy feathers that you see on all your baby penguins and stuff, that are really warm. It's like a big doona, keeping them all cozy. And then you've got their waterproof feathers on the top, which is like their raincoat. And then the oil on the very, very top and spread throughout to make sure that that raincoat is actually fully waterproof as well. Their feathers are really cool, and they've got like 10,000 feathers on them, and they interlock really closely. So they've got a really thick amount of feathers to make sure that they are kept warm while they're out swimming. And because of this, they need to spend a lot of time keeping those feathers clean and keeping them really looked after, because if they're not looked after, that's when they run into trouble in the water. So I was talking a bit about the footy penguins with their hats and scarves, but often you'll see penguins, you'll see photos of toy penguins with jumpers on them, or if you've been here, you'll see the penguins with toy jumpers on. And that's because if an oil spill happens, I'm sure you've all seen the way oil and water interacts and they sort of separate. And so what it's going to do is, instead of it's going to make the feathers stick together as well, and that means the water's going to be able to get in towards their skin, which becomes really, really dangerous for them being able to swim safely and not getting too cold. But then you've also got the fact that they're going to preen themselves to try to remove that oil, and they're going to ingest the oil because of that, which is also really, really dangerous. So although we don't put the jumpers on for fun, of course, that would just be cruel and funny, we use the jumpers very specifically to be able to make sure that the penguins are not preening themselves too much and are not ingesting that oil just while we wait until we have got time to get to them and clean them up properly. So it is a really important piece of equipment. And every now and again, you'll see us put a call out looking for more jumpers, and we end up looking for 2 different kinds. So we've got the very specific kind that's got like elastic in the neck and penguin poo in the neck and around the bottom to make sure that the penguins can't get underneath or get entangled too much in it. And then you've got the ones that we use in our shop. So the very, very vast majority of penguin jumpers we receive are not suitable for use for our little penguins in case of an oil spill. they end up being suitable for our shop instead. So they end up being perfect for us to sell on our toys, which means that we can raise more money towards protecting the penguins if something happens, as well as our research and education with the Penguin Foundation, as we've mentioned. Sorry, seasickness there. Let's go back to the other camera. But also, it also means that we are able to sort of gives us a talking point and chat to you guys. They're like, why are the penguins wearing a jumper? And we can tell you all about the work we do with them. So I know that a few years ago we did a big ask. We've got a big stockpile of these proper penguin jumpers that are appropriate for the case of an oil spill, and we looked for more a few years ago. And that's because when we had moved the building and we knocked down the old building and built a brand new one, which is beautiful, it allowed us to give extra space to the penguins. So as we're expecting more penguins to hopefully move into the area, we were needing to have more of those jumpers in case of an oil spill. So the last big oil spill was in about 2007, I believe. So it's been a long time, and touch wood that we're not going to have another one anytime soon, but we've got everything there and prepared just in case. Oh, we've got wallaby and penguins, beautiful. And we've still got our little bird of prey up in the top corner, which you can't see because it's hidden by the Nature Parks logo. There he is. And we'll go back to penguins. And, you know, through that, we do these workshops fairly regularly for staff and volunteers or the community around the island to how to protect wildlife in case of an oil spill, as well as we've got this really cool magic wand. And because the oil contains metal particles, this magic wand sort of works as a magnet to sort of really easily clean up these penguins in case of an oil spill, which is a really, really cool piece of technology that it's terrible because it's like, you know, I would love to use it. I'd love to have a look at it and see how it works, but I don't want there to be an oil spill that is injuring and killing, you know, thousands of animals to be able to have a look at that. So it's one of those really beautiful pieces of technology that we've created but never ever want to use. So it's a bit of pros and cons. We're getting close to the end of our stream tonight, so let's go in for another question, Tom. You've got no more questions? Guys, honestly, are you all watching the footy? Am I talking to no one? Because if that's the case, I'm going to be upset. Alrighty. That's fine. Look at this wallaby just enjoying his old day off. I'm going to go back up around here, and I think I'm going to go back to the highway because they're looking very cute on the highway. Have you ever seen penguins? Have you ever seen predators hanging out on the beach right until the end of the night, Tom?
Such as?
Well, like the gulls. Like, do they usually? Because usually they've left well and truly before now.
No, they're sort of there right on parade start time, and that's about it. They don't hang around very much after that.
No, so these guys are definitely being a little bit unusual as well. Because I'm with Tom. He's worked here a lot longer than me, which is why I keep asking if he's experienced something.
They might be juvenile. They might be just new juveniles.
Juveniles.
They haven't got dark feathers, but they might be young ones.
Might be younger, like sort of teenage phase where they look like adults but they're not quite. And without getting a good look at their beak or legs, one of them, you can't really tell how old they are. But yeah, it could be they could be a bit unsure of how to do things that they're supposed to be doing. But for them to still be hanging around this late is unusual. The only times I've seen sort of gulls hanging out on the beach really, really late, it has been a young, like a very obviously young gull. Sort of, by very obviously young, I mean they still had their brown feathers. They didn't have their adult colouring like this. So we've got no idea whether those are adult birds of prey or juveniles, like Tom suggested they could be. We're not going to find out that answer, unfortunately. As much as I'd love to be able to go have a look, we're just not going to get it. All right. These penguins are just sitting here all night long. Every night we've always got a group of penguins who are just like, I am not going anywhere. I'm going to sit here and preen my feathers all night long and make sure that I have the prettiest, smoothest, cleanest, most oily feathers in the world, and no one's going to stop me. All right. And we'll have a look at our shell gritter as well. Sorry about this smudge on the camera. We get a lot of ocean wind hitting our cameras, and sort of this part of the camera's got a bit like that's almost calcified to it, so we need to get it cleaned properly, and we're having a look into that. But for the moment, that smudge is semi-permanent for us. Oh, it's always good. So, and she's given us a good view so we can see, look how beautiful and blue her feathers are. And we could also have a bit of a look at her beak and see that it is thin. Whoa. All right, I upset the camera. Okay, I'm gonna go to the other camera while that camera has a bit of a hissy fit. That was weird. I've not had that happen before. Oh, okay, back to the highway we can go now. All right, so whatever I did, the camera did not like it, and I will have to be more careful apparently. That's fine. Fine, camera. You keep your secrets. Okay. And I'm sort of scared to use the camera properly in case it throws another hissy fit at me. That's really rude. We've got more shell griters. What I wanted to do was attempt to show you a close-up of the beak so we can see the male-female difference again, because that's always a really, really cool where you can go, okay, this penguin has got a really fat beak. It's got a hook on the end. That's definitely a boy penguin. And this penguin's beak is much more slender and it doesn't really have that hook, so that's probably a girl penguin. And when we've got the shell gritters, we already know it's going to be the girl penguin. And the boy penguins, when they have got the really fat beak, it's really obvious. So I love it when we're able to actually have a good look. So hopefully this one will have a bit of a stop by us and let us have a look at what sort of a more slender feminine beak looks like. Are you gonna... I'm waiting for her to come over a little bit more, but she's just... Hello? I can't even get a good look. See, this is what I did last time. The camera the camera went a little bit silly on me, and I don't want it to do that again. So you can see the beak, it ends up being a little bit shorter as well, I believe. But yeah, definitely much, much more slender. So hopefully we'll get another group of penguins come in soon and we can see some big fat male beaks, although they might not have another raft of penguins come in before we end up needing to finish the stream, but that's okay. We can see what's going to happen and have a look. Let's go back to the main beach. Do we have any more rafts coming in, or are we just... No, we don't even have more rafts in. I do see some vague... is that a raft? I don't know. I can see the predator again. I'm just really interested in the predator. Can we do a predator live stream instead of a penguin live stream one day? That'd be really hard to run. Could you imagine going, yep, we're gonna run a live stream on predators, which are only here like every 5 episodes. Episodes, is that the right word? I don't know. All right, let's have another look at the highway, see if we can see the boy beaks, and then we will look at signing off for tonight and coming back. So we are, here we go, this one's a boy, the second one here, big fat beak. Oh, that one too, and that one. So here we go, 3 big fat beaks showing off for us, which is just beautiful. And you can see, if you go back and rewind and have a look, you can see the 3 ones who ran sort of at the bottom, right up the front, had those really fat beaks compared to the female we got a really good look at tonight. All right, so we are continuing to run these streams on Monday, Wednesdays and Saturdays at the moment. So we're not running every day, unfortunately, because we've got lots of other stuff that we need to do. We need to attend to the guests who are here, as well as do all of our other important work. But we will continue going at the Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We are getting very close to daylight savings as well, and I'm sure we'll put a warning on Facebook too. Daylight savings is in a week, which means our live streams, they're starting later and later as the penguins come in later and later every night. But when we hit daylight savings, it'll start an hour later as well. So just a reminder to just keep an eye out and remember that if you're watching these diligently with us, not to freak out when the penguins aren't here on time, because daylight savings makes things all funky and different for us. It makes it, penguins don't notice daylight savings, but we're always like, what is happening? And I know for me, I tell people for like a solid week, I'm like, yeah, the penguins will be here at 6:30 when I'm really meaning 7:30. All right, so I think that's probably it for tonight, Tom. Thank you guys for joining us, and we will see you again on Monday. I forgot what day it was for a second there. I am going to huck like a penguin as we say goodbye, and Tom's going to say goodbye like a normal person. Thank you guys. We'll see you on Monday. Bye.
See everyone. Bye.